In this video, I'm going to work through multiple type 1 polyatomic non-acid ionic compounds, going from formula to name and from name to formula. I'm going to specifically focus on type 1 compounds that consist of ammonium combined with a polyatomic anion, where that anion derives from one of the 9 ic acids. Remember that a type 1 consists of a cation plus an anion. The cation can be a fixed charge metal, or it can be ammonium combined with an anion. I'm specifically going to focus, as I mentioned, ammonium combined with a polyatomic anion that derives from one of the 9 ic acids. Let's start with this chemical formula and let's find its chemical name. Remember that all type 1 polyatomic non-acid ionic compounds that go from formula to name follow the same rules. The first step is to name the first element or polyatomic ion. This is just one of those that you just have to remember. It has a fixed charge. That is ammonium. The second step is to name the second element or polyatomic anion. This is an anion deriving from an ic acid, and that ic acid is chloric acid. Chloric acid donates its hydrogen ion and it becomes chlorate, and that is how it gets its 1- charge. Now, an anion that is above chlorate would be perchlorate, and that anion has one extra oxygen. It uses the prefix per and the suffix ate, so we would have perchlorate. So the chemical name is going to read ammonium perchlorate. I now have this chemical formula. The first step is to name the element or polyatomic ion. I see the ion of ammonium. The second step is to name the anion. This anion derives from sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid donates 2 hydrogen ions. It becomes sulfate. An anion that has one less oxygen than sulfate would be sulfite. So our chemical name is going to read ammonium sulfite. Okay, so I now have this chemical formula. You're welcome to try it on your own. Remember that the first step is to name the first element or polyatomic ion. I see ammonium. The second step is to name the second element or polyatomic anion. This anion derives from chloric acid because chloric acid donated its hydrogen ion and it became chlorate. So that's how it got its 1- charge. As you're going down, the number of oxygens is reducing by 1 every time. Eventually, you will find this anion when you go all the way down, and that anion is going to have the prefix of hypo and the suffix of ite, so you should have hypochlorite for the anion. Therefore, the chemical name is going to read ammonium hypochlorite. Okay, so now we have this chemical name and we need to find its chemical formula. Remember that for all type 1 polyatomic non-acid ionic compounds, when they go from name to formula, they follow the same rules. So let's start. Step 1 is to write the chemical symbols and their charges. I see ammonium. And the formula for ammonium is just NH₄ Phosphate, it derives from phosphoric acid. Phosphoric acid donates 3 hydrogen ions, and because of that, we get PO4 3-. Now, we need to make sure the total charge of the compound balances to 0. And we do that by cross multiplying the numbers from the charges. So we bring this 3 over here, the 1 to the right side. 1 times -3 equals -3. 3 times 1 equals 3. And 3 minus 3 equals 0. So we have met that requirement. Now, remember that after you cross multiply, if a subscript of 2 or higher is transferred to a polyatomic ion, you need to place the polyatomic ion in parentheses and write the subscript outside the parentheses. So I see a polyatomic ion. So I'm going to place parentheses and put the polyatomic inside, and I'm going to put the subscript outside. I see a polyatomic ion. However, I'm not going to write parentheses on this one. Why? Because whenever you just write PO4, it's already understood that you only have one polyatomic ion. Therefore, this is going to be my chemical formula. Okay, so now we have this chemical name and we need to find its chemical formula. Remember that the first step is to write the chemical symbols and their charges. I see ammonium, and that is NH4, 1+. And I also see the anion chloride. Chloride, remember, it derives from chloric acid, one of the 9 ic acids. It donates its hydrogen ion. It gains its 1- charge. So we have chlorate. And then an anion that has 1 less oxygen would be chloride. So it would be ClO2-, or 1-. Since both charges have the same number, I'm not talking about the charges, I'm talking about just the number, then we write the chemical symbols together to make the formula. Why? Because opposite signs will cancel each other. So this is going to be my chemical formula.